Hello, beautiful souls. I am Valeria Maritza here at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. My guest today is Deborah Weed. She is an amazing healer, mystic. I'm going to let her come over here and tell you all of her accolades because her energy is beautiful. I know you're going to love her. So let's just bring you in. Hello, Deborah. How are you?
Hi, Valeria. I am so wonderful, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. I so appreciate it. Yes, I am the founder of the Self-Worth Initiative, and for years and years, we did plays, productions for children and their family to teach them about self-worth in a really creative, dynamic way. I'm also the creator of Paisley the Musical, something that I'm working on right now, which is huge over the top. But I also just started something that's really tugging at my heart. I had written a book called If Only, and it followed a snowflake as she takes her leap of faith, and she has faith go along with her. So as she's going through her transition, faith is giving her comfort and telling her what's happening until a beautiful, beautiful ending. And I was so inspired by that. I've just started a series about faith. And as if she was took her leap and now she's here and she's going to be sharing beautiful sentiments and the visuals are just breathtaking. So I'm very excited about that too.
That sounds incredible. And it sounds so nurturing. I just love it. I could feel the energy of this book as you were speaking.
Wow, and nurturing, that is such a perfect word for it because with the world, with the uncertainty that we're going through right now,
Hmm.
that's why I was called, even though I'm doing this big over the top musical, which is going to take time, faith is something we need right now.
Yes, I love it. And I love the background here. You have all you have the Paisley musical screenshot here, and you have all of those beautiful designs, the dresses. I love them. I love the costumes. Are you involved in also all of the creations for that?
Yes, I'm developing the entire musical from well, actually it started it as a children's book.
Uh-huh.
And the storyline is about a little porcupine who dreams of being a fashion designer. But in the fashion world, the animal fashion, the backbiting fashion world, she needs to use her quills as pins to pin up the couture designs of Zavana, who is like a diva, a Cruella de Vil type character, who's always taking, and Paisley, being a porcupine pleaser, is giving away her quills one by one. And the reason that I wrote that children's book, and it took me actually a year to illustrate the illustrations, and it's called Paisley's Last Quill, is because it mirrored my own life. So often I have given away my power, and so many people do. And I wanted it as a cautionary tale so that people, especially little girls, could reclaim their power. And then when the mothers read it, they came to me and they said, I love this book. This book is for me. And when I got that kind of feedback, it was like, wait a minute, I have done musicals for so many years in my life. Why not create something to the scale of Wicked or something like huge that will really speak to this storyline, but also encourage people and empower people to take back their power?
Oh my gosh, I love it. As you were speaking, I'm feeling, wow, this sounds like an amazing story for us women, the adult women who lost our power as children. So, I mean, I just want to dive right into that. I know we discussed, like, let's go and tell us the story about how you got here and how all of this inspiration was birthed from you. But I wanted to let you know that we're right in the energy. So, would you mind just go ahead and starting to talk about this?
No, of course, I'd be happy to. And quite frankly, everything I've done creatively has come from a trauma. which is really, really interesting. And I'm
Uh-huh.
sure that a lot of people with this day of uncertainty are going through so much. And my heart, let me just stop for a second and say, my heart is with you with everything that I have. I get it. So I had been at the top of my career game as the director of development for Citibank, 19 branches, and I had also worked on a $26 million pavilion in Taishan, Korea for Kia Motors with Universal and Disney consultants.
Wow.
But even though I had become tremendously successful, I never smiled. I thought that corporate meant serious. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people do.
They
And
do,
when
yeah.
you're in that corporate environment, that is what is
Mhm.
breeds, right?
Yeah.
Well, during this time, I had a mystery illness and I didn't know what was going wrong, but the pain was off the charts. I couldn't move. I was bedridden for 3 years. And I was so weak. And I went from doctor to doctor. And the first doctor said, "Oh, I think that you have MS." And then the second doctor said, "Oh, I think you have Lou Gehrig's." And then the next one said, "It's all in your head." When this is happening to somebody where you are getting a different diagnosis from so many people, you start to, even though I was in so much pain that I didn't even want to live anymore, you start to question your own integrity. You start to wonder what this means. And especially for anybody who's going through something after COVID, they might have these mystery scenarios and they give away their power to the doctors because they're looking for somebody else to heal them, right? And that is, that's human nature. But, anyways, when this was happening, I heard about a 1943 pure copper penny that could be worth $1 million. And I thought, wow, you know what? Here I am in bed and I have lost everything. I've lost my career. I've been pretty much abandoned my family because they didn't know what to think. It's not that they didn't love me. It's just, hey, if people can't really find what's going on, we don't know what to do.
People
But
don't
when
know how to, I'm sorry, people don't know how to relate to someone who's going through something through the long haul, right? Because at the
yes,
beginning, there's always support, there's always, people there asking you, if you need anything. But when it goes past that year, then it's like people start to fall out, right?
exactly. And it's so lonely. But while I was in bed, this penny inspired me. And because I had done so many shows since I was 16 years old, my mom had an entertainment agency, so it was just natural for me. I thought, what if I create a musical and a book about a penny who doesn't know how much it's worth? One named Alistair, who's like, I'm perfect, I've never been touched, and one who's been in the garbage can, who's been somebody's lucky penny, who's been on the street, and find out which one is worth more and why. And so that creativity got me going until I realized or found out that I had a fibroid tumor the size of a grapefruit that was behind my uterus that they missed. And because they missed it, I had been, and this is a little bit of a trigger warning, I had been bleeding profusely. My
Mm.
iron was between a 3 to a 6, and my doctor, when he finally found it, said, "You should have been dead a long time ago. We don't even know how you're here." So that first time, and I've had subsequent times like that, but that first time I realized a couple of things. Number one, I gave away my power, and I learned that nobody can take your power from you. Like when you feel stuck, it's usually not because of fear. It's because you've given your power away quill by quill, right? That's the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned is that creativity and laughter are the two of the most healing forces that are out there because they come from the divine, right? They
Hmm.
come down and they wash through you. And if you can get it out into the world or out of your body and into the ethers, something miraculous happens. And the way that I describe it is almost like you have a boulder inside you of all the trauma and the hurt and the pain. And if you can use your divine gifts, whatever they might be, through creativity, that tells the cells live.
Yes, I love that. That sentence that you mentioned earlier that, we don't get stuck because we're stuck, but because we're giving away our power. That just resonates so deeply. I haven't heard it explained like that before. And it is just such a great message because then it's almost as if like, hey, maybe I'm not broken, right? Maybe, maybe I'm just giving all of me away. And I just need to get that back inside, right?
That is so true. And one of the reasons during after this time, that's when I became the founder of the Self-Worth Initiative, because another thing that I learned, oh, this is so crucial. And I didn't know this until until then, is that there's a difference between self-esteem and self-worth. But people get it, people confuse it all the time. Self-esteem is like, hey, I did something great. Now I believe in myself. Self-worth is fully like where we decide how much we're worth and why. We make the decision. So if we feel worthless, that's the way that we show up in the world, and things happen to make us confirm that. Whereas if we start to believe in ourselves and own our worth, miracles happen.
I love that. What would you say to someone who is down in the trenches, going through the difficult challenges that life has presented to them, and they're in this place of really feeling unworthy or really not finding the joy within themselves, and they could have all kinds of creativity hidden within themselves, but how do they get it out?
That is such a beautiful and profound question. Thank you for asking that.
Yes.
Well, the first thing is, the first thing is that I care. Whoever that person is, I care profoundly, because sometimes words, they feel a little sticky. It's sort of like, yeah, it's easy for you to say, but look at what's happening to me. So the first thing I need to say is that I care profoundly. The second thing is, and this is something that I've just learned, and I'm a grandma, so like, and that is that I think when somebody goes into trauma, they keep on trying to figure out the solution, right? Like if I do this, I'll get better. If I do that, I'll get better. If I do this. And so I hate to say this, but this is something I truly believe. I think we get addicted to solving problems.
Yes.
But guess what happens when you get addicted to solving problems? You're always focusing on the problem. And I know this so well because that was me. And still, I still have that too. So I haven't gotten rid of that addiction quite yet. Because in your heart, as a human, right, you're thinking that if I can solve this problem and I can be healed, then I can have my life. Then I can do that thing. Then I can be with the people. But that's not how life works. It doesn't work that way. And I found out that the hard way so many times. So sometimes you have to really feel the feeling profoundly. Don't run away from it. Don't try to push it down and hide it inside yourself so that you or nobody else can find it. That is not the solution. Sometimes you have to feel it with a guide, right? With somebody who really can get you and understand. And we all need help when things get really, really bad. The other thing is that once you actually feel it and you sit with it and you allow yourself to cry or whatever you're going to go through, then the next step is to go to that dream, that thing that you're saying that will never happen. It can't happen because look at me, look at me, look at me. Anybody could see that I'm either in a health crisis, a financial crisis, a relationship crisis. I'm in crisis. But inside of you is a seed, and that seed of creativity is asking you, imploring you to use it because that's where you start to connect with the universe again. And when you start to connect with the universe again and you claim your worth, miracles happen. And you might have to pivot and pivot and pivot and pivot. I certainly have.
For
But at the
sure.
same time, you're moving the energy out instead of containing it and pushing it back in.
Yes, so important because one of the reasons that we carry that is because we don't want to deal with it. And, to your point before, you were saying, we're thinking of how to find a solution, how to solve this. And that's just keeping ourselves busy, right? And then, as you also mentioned, like the more that you're saying, how do I fix this problem? And you're focusing on the problem, then you are maybe finding a solution for that. But at the same time, you're creating another one that you need to put your attention to solve, right?
Yeah, and it's so hard because we've been taught
Yeah.
how powerful we are. But if most of the time, if you look at somebody who is really living that life where they're in love with life, it's because they've cleared away most of the so-called focusing on the problem to come up with a solution. And everybody says be in the moment. But what does that mean, be in the moment? When you're in crisis, be in the moment means like, are you asking me to keep on hurting and suffering? Is that what you're asking me to do? But if you can, I guess for me, being in the moment means that if you can get beyond yourself, and everybody says this, it's not easy to do. And that's why I wish that I could sit with the person who's hurting, just hold their hand. Because sometimes when somebody cares, that's enough. That's enough to
Oh,
keep going.
for sure. I mean, I've experienced many times where like I've been holding on to something and I could be at the point of like bursting, but I'm holding on, right? And then somebody, anyone, could ask a question, "Are you okay?" And then it's like everything wants to flood. It's like you can't stop it because you're there and that's all you need. It's just that one person who cares, and then you're allowed to let it go. So, so important.
So important.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, um being in that cycle, because it feels like, we get stuck in these cycles of like repeating what's happening. Like, okay, I get a burst of energy. I'm all excited. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Okay, that's the book I'm gonna read, or that's the meditation I'm going to do, or whatever it is that's coming to you, and we get so excited, and then we start doing it. And then 2, 3 days later, oh, I don't see the results, and we just give up, even though we haven't given it enough time. Or um, someone who's been doing the work, the inner work, and has been, working with someone and having a mentor or a friend who's there to hear them. And weeks go by, maybe months, and they still find themselves stuck. What would you say to them to
I
like
am
to move through?
I'm so glad you asked this question. I'm so glad. So I had a dad like a Yoda. He was like Yoda, and he always had the most amazing advice for him. In fact, one day I might write a book about everything he shared because it was way different. But here's what he told me that goes very specifically to what you asked. I used to put, first, let me just set this up. I used to do like a big production, a big thing, and it would go so successful. And then, like, I'd go through a week of depression. It was the strangest thing. And I came to my dad once and I was like, what is going on? And he said, I'm going to tell you one of the most powerful quasi emotions that bring people down every single time. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. He's like, it's disappointment. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you're excited, just like you were explaining, there's chemistry in your body. Now, we're not aware of the chemistry, but there's endorphins and there's adrenaline. There's all kinds of things going on. But when you get a barrier or an obstacle, you hit something, right? All the chemicals get depleted. All the feel good chemicals get depleted. And guess what the brain remembers? It remembers the depletion.
Mm.
and it remembers how bad that feels. But then you say, okay, all right, let me try again. I'm going to keep on going. And you do it again. And you hit another obstacle. And then when you hit the obstacle, once again, there's a depletion of all those feel good chemicals, but we're not aware of that. And he told me, he said, listen, if this happens over and over and over again, a person will never want to try again because they don't want to feel the crash. They can't
Mm.
put words to it. They can't tell you why. They just feel stuck. And so I'm like, okay, that sounds like that could happen to me. So what is the answer? And we know this answer, but it just seems so counterintuitive. He's like, do it anyways. Do it anyways. Because if you understand how the body and the chemicals are functioning, you'll realize that it's the drop in chemicals, it's not the drop in your passion.
Mm.
So, but he did tell me, he said, I would estimate or guesstimate that 70% of all people never try again. It's like the air conditioner. It's like once it's set at 73 degrees, you're not touching it. And it's the same thing. Once you have gotten disappointed so many times, you never want to try again because you don't want the feeling of falling. So this is a hard one for me too because it's very powerful. But I do realize that if you get back up and you keep on doing what you think you were born to do, you won't have the regrets at the end of your life.
Mm.
And that's
Oh,
what we're playing with.
that's so powerful. What would you say to someone who is in that rut and is feeling like, I thought that my passion was music or writing or math or whatever it is. And I gave it all my energy and all my power, and I started doing it and it didn't work. And here I am now feeling worse than before for having tried something and it didn't work for me. How do I find my passion? Was that the right one? Like when we start to doubt ourselves, like we're like, oh, I'm so good at this. Everybody tells me, and then I give it my all, and then I fail for whatever reason, and then I crush down and I feel even worse.
And that I still feel that.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that all of us do, especially if you're going after something big and a big dream. This
Yes.
is going to be part of the process.
Hmm.
The first thing, and a friend told me this, I thought it was so beautiful. She said, you're in the middle of your story.
I love that.
Wasn't that great? I was like, oh gosh, that's such a nugget. So that's the first thing. You're in the middle of your story. This isn't the end. The second thing is pivot. Pivot and pivot and pivot because I'll tell you a story of an artist. I love storytelling. So
Yeah, no, that
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
I love this artist, a Puerto Rican artist that I know who wanted to be the top of her game. And she painted and painted and painted, and she created the most beautiful exhibit ready to go. And she was going to have it at her home. She gave flyers to everybody that she possibly could. And when I came over for this magnificent show, nobody showed. I was the only person there. And she
Wow.
had this big dream. She had worked for like years to get ready for this beginning. And this was her dream. I didn't I was like I was praying, what can I say? And then I got this inspiration to say, you know what? I know that nobody's here, but God is. And God is the best witness. And this was all to say, do you really want this? Do you really want this? And I know that magnificent things are going to happen from it because I know how much you want this. And for whatever, she had a couple of tears and she went on to be a top artist, in her field.
Amazing.
And so I think that happens so many times
Mm-hmm.
where we are going to get tripped. I mean, I right now I'm working on Paisley the musical, as we mentioned, which is huge, over the top. It's like what I have envisioned is like mind-boggling. But because I can't get it done in a day, because it's going to take me time, I also decided to put my time into creating faith, like little vignettes, as if faith has already leaped towards humanity. And I'm posting it now on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm going to have a little series. So even me, who's like really in the mix of the creativity, I'm pivoting and pivoting and pivoting to what feels good on a daily basis and then in long term. Because I don't think when somebody does something that they ever fail. I think that it just leads them closer to their destination. And if we keep on getting turned and turned again and turned again, there's a reason. Maybe there's a higher calling and it's just waiting for you at that other side of it.
Yeah, I love that. I usually tell my audience, my clients as well, for something very similar to what you just explained. But it's so refreshing to hear from someone else, not just being the one speaking it. Because, yeah, and me too, like I have different projects going on. I have like three different books going on at the same time, and none of
Right.
them are done. And um, and then I feel that the important thing here is to just continue to trust and continue to do the thing that brings you joy in the moment, even though you're not seeing the realization of what you're imagining. Because I feel that a lot of times we hold ourselves back because what we think is what we want, or I would make it if I did this. That's not really the end. And there's something so much better or bigger than are imagining at this moment. And this is why we're not receiving it. Or, because it's like, hey, that's a little bit that you're not dreaming big enough. So maybe it's like this other thing, and you need to go a little bit this way, but just keep doing the thing that brings you joy in the moment.
And another thing that resonates, and probably will with you too, to a certain extent, is we feel like there's a culture of not giving up, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that's counter to our best interests because sometimes we'll push ahead so that we don't quote unquote fail,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not in our hearts to really do. We're doing it to prove something to who? To who? Who's sitting there taking an accounting going, oh my goodness, you started that and I can't believe you didn't finish it. There's this one of my favorite stories from do you remember Touched by an Angel?
Oh, yes, of course.
My
Love that
favorite, my
show.
favorite story, my favorite story was there's this guy who has Lou Gehrig's, and he's an artist.
Uh-huh.
And he has created this, he needs to create this beautiful art piece so that he's dying. He's going to die that night. And he needs to create it so that he can support his family. But the angel comes to him and says, you have a choice tonight. And your choice is that you can finish the painting or you can read a bedtime story to your two little children. And of course, touched by an angel, he goes ahead and he reads to his babies, knowing that, sad, but also connected with them. He passes away. And then the art agent comes to see the painting with, the wife. It's all covered up. And so the agent says, can I see the painting? And the wife is like, well, he couldn't finish it because well, he just couldn't finish it. And she goes, "Well, maybe we can do something with this. Can I see?" So she takes off the cloak, and of course, the painting is fully completed. And the ending tagline basically says something like, "What you can't complete, spirit will."
Oh, I love that. I got chills. I I know this is I'm interviewing you, but like I have to share this. When when I very first started doing energy healing, I started just practicing on people. And because I didn't trust that I was actually doing it. So I was just practicing. And the very first person who gave their time so I could practice in them, I it was a stranger. I completely freaked out. I didn't know what to do. And I started pulling and thinking, which is 3D, of what to do. What did I do before? What did that person do? What did that book say? All these things. And it was a complete flop. It was just like she didn't feel anything. I knew it. Like it was horrible. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so then the second one, I learned from the first one. And I said this little prayer to spirit. And I said, okay, please help me so that this person gets the best result that they could. And if I mess up, you take over. And that's the prayer that I said. And that person had a fabulous session. And then from there on, I started just trusting on that, trusting on just believing, on doing the thing, whatever was coming through, but putting my faith in something bigger than me. And it just reminded me exactly of what you said. It's because that's what I did. I just surrendered to it. Like, okay, if I'm gonna mess it up, you take over because it's not about me. It's about this person in front of me.
It's so true. I'm so glad you shared that story. It's beautiful. It's
Thank you.
beautiful. And also, it really exemplifies that it's the love. In the end, it's just the love. You want so much. I can look in your eyes and I can see it. You want so much to make a difference and touch lives. And that's what's going to come through you. Through you.
Yes. Yeah,
Through you.
that's
As
right.
you. Through you.
Uh-huh. Amazing. I love it. I love the conversations we're having. This is just resonating so well. Um, so let's go back a little bit to how did you heal yourself? Because you had you found out you had this illness and then, like, so how did you get out of that?
In hand on heart, I haven't. I still have chronic pain. A bunch of other health scenarios came in. And so I have the body, let's call it
Hmm.
that,
Yes.
is still very challenged. And the healing, I think, healing, I looked it up because I
Hmm.
know that this is going to be a big question along the line. Healing means whole. So if healing means whole, the difference is I now embrace every aspect of myself, and
Yes.
that makes me enough.
I love it. Amazing. And what a testimonial to anyone who might be going through something quite challenging and seeing you, because I would have never guessed that you're working on these challenges of, the human body still, that look at all that you continue to create and the joy that you bring just by being. I mean, your energy is just like joyous, it's like listen to this lady, she's just amazing. Like her energy just lifts you up just by listening to you. And look how much you're able to give and create in the moment, as you were speaking about, like being in the present moment, and like all or any other challenges that are happening for you, they're still there, but they're not hindering your light.
I think I hate to say this because I don't want to cement it, but I think it amplifies it because number one, I profoundly understand another person. If somebody was sitting in front of me, I wouldn't necessarily say, but you look great.
Right.
Uh, because I know what you know
Yeah.
what that feels like.
Hmm.
And it makes me want to get my message out there all the more.
Yes.
It's almost like it's the rocket booster behind me
Hmm.
is all the trauma that I've gone through in life is there to push me forward, going, I know what that feels like. So what can I do to inspire and create hope? Because giving is receiving and receiving is giving. And the more that I give with an open heart, the more that I seem to receive. So it's kind of
Yes.
selfish, but that's where my heart's at.
No, no, it's lovely because it just feels like, when we are living in the present moment, as you started speaking earlier, and focusing on what we love or our joy or the creation, right? Or you're focusing on the things that you like instead of the ones that you prefer less. And it's just focusing on that. It feels like that's what's bringing the balance to your energy, your body. And, this is why everything, like, like that doctor said, you've had this for 3 years. I didn't expect you to be here, but
Right.
you're
Right.
here because you're feeding your body, your energy with the positive notes of being present as you're creating, as you're feeling joy and love in the present moment.
Yes, and I also have to also have to put my hand in my heart again because I
Yes.
want to be as authentic as possible. As recent as a year ago, I was devastated because I was hurting so much and doing what I was sharing. I was trying to solve the situation in my body,
Uh-huh.
trying to solve it, concentrating. And then dear friends gathered around me and said, Deborah, you're one of the most creative people we know. You gotta use that. So even with me, who has reinvented myself so many times in my life and has used creativity so many times in my life, I too can get off track unless I am actually concentrating on my gift.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I mean, it does happen to all of us. And I'm so glad that you're bringing this up because so many people might see us or anyone else, and they just forget about everything else. So they believe that, oh, well, they have it made or they did this and they're good. They don't have my issues. Somebody actually mentioned about a year ago, they said something to me and they're like, oh, I forgot that you went through that. It's like, oh, like, like I was just looking at you now, like this is your life now, and I forgot of all that other stuff that you went through. And I thought, oh, that's what people see, right? That they just believe this person right here, which is, but we have the story behind to also be able to connect and relate to everyone else, to show them, like, hey, it's okay to go through the struggles or the challenges in life. You can still, move on and find your peace and your joy.
And as you were talking, I'd
Yeah,
like to share one more story with about my dad
of
because I
course.
think this is like perfect for what you just said. When I was in big trouble with that tumor, and I felt, and I was in bed, I came to him and I was like, Dad, look at all these people who I have inspired. And they're going on with their magnificent lives, and I'm stuck here not able to do anything. And in addition to the physical pain and everything else that was happening, the sorrow in me was just extraordinary. Let's call it extraordinary. And once again, my dad is a little different. So he's like, Deborah, go get some water and some food dye. I'm like, I can hardly get out of bed. What are you talking about? Get some water and food dye. He goes, no, really. So I do. I get the water and I get the food dye. And he says, okay, now take 3 drops and put them in the water. So I put 3 blue drops in the water. And he says, okay, now stir it. So I stir it. And he says, okay, now my beautiful daughter, I want you to go and get those 3 drops out. And I'm like, Dad, that's like impossible. I can't get the 3 drops out. And he said, exactly. There are 3 blue drops of you in every person you have touched. And everybody who's touched you, there's 3 drops of them in you. So there's no way everything that they do and go on to do, you have a part, you're part of that. It's not like you just touch their lives and poof, you're gone. That, and for whatever reason, when he shared that with me, I was like, okay, no matter what, even if we are bedridden, even if it's like, even if somebody who's listening right now is between life and death, you have three blue drops in every person you touched. And if you were looking from the sky, you'd be amazed.
I love that. What a profound thing to say. Your father's amazing.
My father gave me so much information. I could go on and on and on. He was pretty incredible because, I was always questioning things and he was always giving me profound answers.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, maybe write a book of my father's
Right,
my
right,
father's
right.
advice.
After this faith thing and the musical, that's definitely in there. But it's what I love to share. That's what I love to share because I know how I felt, and if I can say one thing to one person to make a difference, then I know that it's been a glorious day.
Oh, yes, I totally agree with you 100%. That's fabulous. Wow, Deborah. What else do you want to share with the audience about your upcoming things that you're creating?
Well, with Paisley the musical, I'm so excited. And if you're a singer or a dancer or a producer, please go to Paisley's fashionforest.com. And there's a part where you can fill in your name and everything because I want to potentially do a huge collaboration with as many people that are talented and want to use their creative gifts. But that's such a big, gigantic undertaking. So I'm also doing a series on my Facebook and my Instagram about faith, and it's called A Spark from Faith. And each little segment will be something that I'm hoping will touch a heart and lives. And that's based on my book, If Only. And If Only is about a snowflake who takes her leap of faith. And faith follows, as I think I mentioned, faith follows her down, telling her why. And I also have the book, Paisley's Last Quill, that was targeted for children and is being turned into musical. And that one is called Paisley's Last Quill.
And on that one, I was going to ask you this earlier, and then it went out of my head, but now it's coming back. Um, when you were talking about and explaining the story of that book, I felt like, oh, I want to give this to some women that I know. Would that be something that I could and that it would be well received, or would they think like, well, why are you giving me a children's book?
No, I was so surprised. I was so surprised because a lot of the mothers came back to me. That's where the musical came,
Yeah,
into
yeah.
play. Because the mothers were coming back to me saying, I needed that story because I give away my quills. I'm also doing the Quills Up movement, but essentially the Quills Up movement is basically reclaim your power, stop giving it away. Just like this porcupine who had a dream and she was giving away bits and bits and bits and bits of herself, all the while not realizing the power that was in her all along, which
I
she does
can't wait to read it.
again. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love that book. I put everything into that
I
one.
can feel it, but the message is so profound and it just feels like, oh, I need to read that book like now.
Yes, and and hopefully the musical with all the spectacle and everything will eventually take everybody on a journey that just brings tears and laughter and hope and is my opus.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Where can people get in touch with you?
The two ways that, well, a bunch of ways they can get in touch with me, but the selfworthinitiative.net is one place. And that's where you'll find all the things that I've done, kind of like the culmination of everything that I've done with families and all my books. And then Paisley's fashionforest.com is where they can find out more about the musical. And then for the faith series that I'm doing, just look me up on Instagram. My handle is Deborah.Weed, and we're on Facebook, Deborah Weed. And yeah, I think people are gonna love that because right now I just started and people are saying, "Oh my gosh, that's so stunning. Oh, it touched my heart. This is gorgeous." So I'm getting a lot of great feedback for just beginning that.
Oh, I love that. And of course, I'm going to put all of that information down on the notes. So if you didn't catch it or you're driving and listening, don't worry. You can just go to the notes and get all that information to get in touch with Deborah. Deborah, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience that we didn't cover?
Well, looking at you, you have such beautiful energy. I can just feel the love emanating from you. And so I know the your listeners and your clients are very, very blessed.
Thank you for that. Well, Deborah, this is amazing. I love your energy, and I'm sure the audience will love it. And I really, I'm curious, and I would really like to see this musical come to fruition, um, and to be able to actually experience it. It just feels so good. A lot of I have a son who's 9, and so I've been taking him to the movies, which I haven't been to the movies in years. But I started taking him to see some of these animation movies and things. And I have found that the new movies that are coming out are very magical. And they have all of these different stories that and lessons that are very different than the stories that I used to see as a child. And I'm looking at it like, oh wow, and I can put things together like, oh wow, like that's his soul, or like he's going over there, and that's like I don't know, it's amazing the stuff that's coming through. So it feels like what you are creating is right along those lines of inspiration, of lifting people up and allowing people to just become so much more aware and expanded in what's possible for them.
Yeah, that is what my dream is that when I saw Wicked, I don't know if you did, but when
I
I
haven't,
saw
but so many people have like raved about it.
the play. I mean, I
Yeah.
love the movie is great, but the play, the actual theatrical production, it took my breath away because it was magical realism, and the characters were so rich in the storyline and the songs. And when we sing, we're constantly singing to ourselves. Subconsciously, we're training our brain to believe in a certain way.
Mhm.
So to be able to do something like that on a big scale, I've done many musicals, but to do it on a huge scale is like I can't wait until people walk out of the theater because I'll be watching them, not the show.
I love it. I can't wait either to see it. So, well, this has been amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing your love, your energy with my audience here. And I can't wait to see all that you're continuing to create and bring out to the audience.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye bye.